Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a minute. Today, well, you know what today's about. Cubase 14 came out yesterday. Amazing update. We're going to show you some features in here about beat making. If you saw the live stream yesterday, you would have saw what's coming. Big shout out to the plugin boutique guys. We did a stream with them yesterday, which was really cool, really successful. So this one's all about the beats, though. Doing beat making. Obviously, that's what I do. So the features that are introduced in this version just elevated a lot of stuff for me now. Like we did tracks and stuff, like tracks that are unfinished. Now I'm going to go back into them and that, because I haven't put out much music recently. So I kind of, you're like writer's block and you're stuck for things. And then obviously what inspires us, plugins, instruments, VSTs, but Cubase now, this 14 version, the beat making tools, the instruments and the plugins, and the workflows as well, really, they've massively helped me now. So I'm going to play this track here, and we're going to show you about beat making, show you how cool these new plugins are and instruments, and how you can use them yourself, really. And if you want to see any other videos, let me know in the comments about Cubase 14. I've got loads to come as well, and loads more other videos. So for those that are saying why I haven't been on the channel, I've just been really busy this summer and stuff, so mastering and stuff. So definitely a lot more videos to come. And if you want to see anything else in particular, let me know. Like, there's a load of plugins that we won't get in today, to be honest. But there's going to be some really cool things I can show you about the beat stuff, about the pattern editor and the drum machine. Really, really cool stuff. So let's get to it. Hopefully everything's recording. A bit rusty. Here we go. You get the idea. A rolling drum and bass. I do love the rollers. I like the little bongo bit as well. I just wanted to play that a little bit. I know it dragged on a bit there, but yeah, it's pretty much finished now. It was kind of in the pause process where you kind of got stuck with the beats and stuff. How can I elevate the beats? How can I, get into them a bit more? And now, Cubase 14, you can see here, brand new in the bottom pane. This is amazing. So now we have a drum machine built into the lower zone. And yes, it looks like Groove Agent, but it's not Groove Agent. Groove Agent is a different animal. Love Groove Agent, as you know. Some of my videos you can see as well about that in the channel. But this is now tucked into the lower zone. It's been a long time since you had a right-click concept in here, whereas I think the last one was sampler track. And now we have a drum track, so it's great. Sort of like on here, we can actually show and hide it. So it's actually tucked in there, rapid beats. So literally we can sculpt a drum kit now, and obviously it doesn't have to be drums, it can be sound design, it can be vocals, it can be anything. But it's got so much under the hood and so many cool tricks that I just cannot imagine not using it now going forward. So all my old tracks now, I'm going to start going and revamping them, and this is just quick time now, getting my ideas down. Real good workflow thing and a time saver for getting your beats down. Okay, so left to right, let's have a quick look in depth. So we have full undo and redo. The terminology is there's 8 pad banks and 128 pads and 4 samples per pad, and each sample can be a mix of drum synthesis and samples. So check that out. So there's actually a whole drum kit and options in here that are not sample based, they're synthesizer based. Why would they be synthesizer based? What would that give me more of an advantage over samples? Well, for the fact with samples, you can only maybe do the level, some pan, ADSI type stuff. With synthesis, you can actually change the oscillators, the click, the noise, the tonal elements to it, and mix and match them as well. So you can really get the drum. There's no excuse for getting really fat, organic drums, meaty drums, hard-hitting drums, or even just organic, natural-sounding drum kits. You know, you can get a real feel in here now. So this is a really cool instrument. Going across here, there's tons of presets. So we've got to load track preset. There's so many presets in here to go through. This is actually a mix and match kit of one of the stock presets. I think it's called Arcade Racer, which is really cool. Mixing some of my own. So automatically, I would never have got this track to where it would be now, because the presets in that kit were a mix of synthesis and my samples. Put them together, and then I used the editor as well, which we'll show in a bit, to put it all together. So yeah, so it's actually really inspired me to carry on again. I don't make enough music, as people keep telling me, and it's true. But I really want to change that now, because I'm sat on so much, like hundreds of tracks, hundreds. So instrument mode, obviously you can see now this is the actual instrument. Pad effects mode, group mode, delay, and reverb, and then I'll explain to them. I'll explain the rest of them in a minute. Okay, so instrument mode. There's the 4 layers. Yep. So the 4 layers, and you can see here now the closed hi-hat, again, synthesis. So that closed hi-hat, if I go on here, it's a mix of a synthesized hi-hat with a transient. So this is crazy now. So you're mixing 2 types of things together, with it being the synthesis options and the synthesized options that would be available. The oscillator type, I can change the oscillator. You can see it moving here real time. It'll look a lot better on a kick and snare in a minute, but don't mess this kit up too much, because it's going to demonstrate it. But we will have a look at it in depth in a minute. Let me just solo it so you can hear it and see it in isolation. So you get the idea. So yeah, so this whole kit is like kicks and snares mixed up. Some of my samples in there, with some of the organic percussion and synthesized percussion. So this is like a sort of hybrid kit. I can really, save this now with a track preset, right click, track preset, and I can always then come with this kit if I want to. My own. So you build your own custom kit ready to roll each time. And the fact that you can have a hybrid mix of things is great. Obviously, it's 4 slots. You don't have to fill them up, Just use your ears, see what works, and then just save it. So coming across here, we have the sample layer editor. So obviously with sample layer, you can actually top and tail, which is great. We can do fades as well, so we can fade in and out stuff. We have a gate mode, which obviously shutting off your samples, or you can just leave them to have 1 shot. We have a global delay and reverb, and 1 per pad as well, for the whole pad. We have our pitch envelopes, our filters, and our amplitude. But what's also really good in this is there's a brand new distortion algorithm as well that's been put into Cubase 14. So it's new to the whole of Cubase 14 and whole of Cubase, really, and it sounds great. You'll hear it in a synthesized layer in a second. So, I mean, that layer just sounds nice, and that's like a nice mix there. Snare, hi-hat, I like that. It's got a kind of sort of a rimmy sort of sharp metallic sound to it, and that's what I wanted it to do. So a nice bit of sculpting on here. You've got the FM level, and let's just play it and have a listen. Let me map up on this keyboard. Octave up, octave up. There we are. Okay, so oscillator type, FM level. You know what, I really like that. And then obviously all these levels here, tuning. And this is what you won't really have to do with the samples. This is because it's synthesis now. And if I want to maybe change, for instance, let's pick a pad that I'm not using, the clavs maybe. You can see here now, this is the sample selector. So you can choose now, or should I say, the selector for the instrument, should I say, because obviously some of these are not based on samples, it's actually synthesis. So these are ones that can be generated and built into the drum machine. So for instance, the kicks, if I go into the kicks here, you can see this kick 1, kick 2, kick 3, kick 4. So kick 1 is actually 808, and then it's 909, and so on and so on. So if I click on it, you'll see now we generate a kick, and this is 808 kick. If I click on it again, and I go to kick 2, and then you get the 808 style, so the 909 style. So the great thing now, with it being in the synthesis zone now, as we are, I can then do stuff like this. So let me try and find it on this keyboard. Come on. All right, there we go. All right, so there it is there, and I can then say, okay, let's start tuning it. You might have to turn your speakers up on this. It's quite low sublet. And now check the distortion out. So this is brand new algorithm to Cubase really, and to this machine, brand new algorithm, so it does sound tasty. Such a nice drive that. I mean, I'm sat here in front of gear that does the same thing, and it's good. It's good. You can hear it yourself. So with the distortion. So this is great to be able to just get a nice kit sounding quite nice, and then just start to drive some of the elements like the kicks and the snares. You can really get a nice fat sound out of it. And then we have the pitch, so we can actually change the pitch. And I like the fact that it's reflected via the knob what you're seeing. So you're actually seeing what you're doing. Add more punch. More distortion. Why not? Okay, so, I mean, that's amazing. The cool thing about that now is I can say, okay, I want to go to another layer. So I like the kick layer, then I might want to maybe add some sort of sample layer in here. And then I can add a sample layer. And then from here, because it's a sample layer, I can drag and drop from here. I can drag and drop from Media Bay. But what's also really cool is I can right click here and I can say find samples. And that will then go to wherever I was last, if it was a sample. So if it was a USB, my desktop, my hard drive, it would find samples within there. But if I go to here to the right, and I click on Find Samples, that takes me directly to Media Bay, and directly, conveniently, and amazingly, to the one-shot folder. So the one-shot folder then becomes alive, and then I can mix and match the one-shot folder in there. So I'm not actually zooming around for samples. So it keeps you really creative and moving around. And of course, with Media Bay, you can also go in your own drives as well. So let's go into that a bit further. So because there's 4 layers, there's 2 different modes here that become relevant to that. So there's a hot swap preview pad and a hot swap preview layer. If I click on hot swap preview pad, I can then go to any sample here and watch how it updates. It's updating the whole pad. No layers on there, it's updating the whole pad. Any sample I can then mix and match. Let's find the key again on this keyboard of mine. So now listen to this. I'm previewing in place. So I'll say, okay, that kit's quite good out of the Media Bay. It's not bad. It's nice. We've got some nice samples, but kind of like the synthesized one. And I go, you know what? I don't want to commit that. Damn, how do I go back to what I was on? Really simple. Just uncheck this, or should I say unhighlight this preview pad, and there's no committal. Now I'm back to my own. So you can see the real power in that as well. So you can actually really mix and match and see what works. Now, yes, I was replacing the whole pad, but what if I wanted to just supplement that pad with a layer and see how the layers might fit and sit? So now here we've got the next one to it, adjacent to it, which is preview layer. And then preview layer, I can then say, click on it again, and now you see the layer automatically changed to be updated to what's in the Media Bay, what's highlighted in the one-shot folder. That is pointing to with find samples, and then I can say, okay, let's just go through these layers. So a kick and a sort of clap there, and a hi-hat. See there, like you come up with sound design type kicks that you never normally would do, because you wouldn't normally put a kick with a hi-hat. Maybe you would at the beginning, but most music you'll just have the kick, maybe have a breakbeat, and then maybe something else that does the elements. But kick and a hi-hat. Yeah, it's quite good, because normally if you have a break and you're making your own, or maybe you sample something, you probably take the kick without the hat. But if you're making your own, I mean, that works really well. And obviously you can see it's quite long here, so I can say, okay, maybe shorten it, maybe put it on gate mode. So it's nice and tight, nice and sharp. And I've got a nice weighty kick there. But then I might say, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll save it till later. I don't want to commit. Unhighlight that, and it's back to the normal kick again. So that's really powerful stuff. In fact, I'm just going to actually put it on again, the hot swap, and I'm actually going to go to this tick here, which then applies the hot swap, and this is your committing. So I'm committing now. I'm committing to this pad, and let's do it. Hot swap, and now that's it. It's set. And then my beat's in there. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, it was actually muted, that pad, but now I might like that. I might change. Let's try that with, yeah. Maybe let's swap that out. Yeah, maybe we'll swap that out with another kick. Let's have a listen. Let's try the other kicks while we're at it. Change the tune. Now you see here, because I had a different kick with that height, it doesn't quite, and you might, oh, right, okay, that's what I might not want that now. It's fine. Each one has a level. Each one has a level. And I can bring it back in. So you can actually mix your pads as well. That's great. And of course you can turn it off if you don't want it on. And then to get a real focus on what you're actually trying to dial in here. So let's go through the kicks again. I always draw back to this one because it's just got meatiness to it. With the distortion. Obviously for drum and bass jungle type stuff, that's what we do. So it's great, and obviously there's a reverb on here. Maybe not do that. Keep it a bit more tight there. So what's really cool, this is a really cool trick. So from there I might say, okay, I like that, and I want it to be more rhythmical, but I'll play the track, you can hear it's just doing a one shot. Which kind of works really well, to be honest. But I might want to do more with that. So this is a really cool trick. So I can go copy pad, and then I can go to a fresh pad bank, and then I can say right click, and I can say paste pad. And then when I paste pad, it becomes onto a fresh pad there. I'm going to be brave and try and find it on this keyboard. Oh, we found it. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I've got on this keyboard now. So this is when we go into the next adjacent tab. This is pad effects, which is great. So pad effects does what it says. Loads of effects per pad. Sticking to it as well. Let's go to Bit Crusher and have a quick listen. Bit Crusher does what it says, but it can go deep. You can change the bits and the direction and all that kind of stuff. Really decimate it. I do love that. The effects are fully reorderable as well, so you don't have to be set in stone and the order that you do. You can make your own little fancy chain here, which is good. Also, there's presets if you want to go into presets. So let's go to the other ones. Like I said, the distortion is all new stuff here. We've got the drive. Maybe let's send a Bit Crusher off so we get the idea. We've got drive. Rectify. Yeah, really, really nice. And then obviously your filters, and you know about all the filters in Cubase and stuff, so obviously the same flavour. They were great always anyway. And then equalizer, which is good. So equalizer is really good. So if I'm adding distortion, obviously distortion is going to add harmonics. It might add upper harmonics. It might add mid harmonics, depending on the tone and key of the kick drum. So, I mean, obviously that's fine. But if Bit Crusher was on, I've got that a little overlapping mid and high, high mid into highs there. Really good. I can just EQ it down. Really good. Or I could just use the filters as well. So I could just turn it on and just do straight high cut and low cut filter. So yeah, you can really sculpt this. This whole pad can be sculpted. What's really good is the limiter. The limiter is like quite aggressive. It does it in a sort of how was I going to say, a sort of musical mode where it's not just doing limiting and that's boring. I mean, it's not boring, but yeah, of course it is boring. And if you're just curb things, you want to drive things, you want to get them to be active and have life. If you use it in reverse and bring the threshold down, you get real life out of it, I found. So in reverse, it's probably better to do it with a snare, for instance. Let's go into the snare. Right, so snare with the limiter in reverse, bringing the threshold down. So you get more life out of it. So you can use it creatively. I love the limiter me. There's also a soft clipper and a hard clipper as well, if you want to go into that range and do stuff. I don't use clippers as much, but obviously sometimes it might work, for instance, on some hats, maybe a bit too sharp. You want to just soft clip them, take a little top and tail off them, edge them off a little bit. It works really well for that. Obviously, delay and reverb, we know them ones. Where's this? Where's this snare? There we go. Reverb. So that's where you would use a snare, obviously. Okay, so group mode. Now I've got sidetracks again. So let's go back to where I was at. Copy and paste to a fresh pad. This sound. I'm trying to find it on this magical keyboard underneath here. There we go. Okay, so instrument mode, pad effects mode, group mode. So a little quick tip I want to show you before I got sidetracked with the effects, because I love the effects, is this one. I right click and copied the pad, so you can do it in Groovation. You know that terminology of copying and pasting and moving pads around. You can do exactly the same thing here in the drum machine, which is really handy, really helpful, and move pads around as well. But this is really cool. So this is a nice tone, right? So I copied it and pasted it to a fresh pad bank. So this is a whole fresh pad bank now. If I go to the group mode, you get a snapshot of all the banks. So you get a snapshot of all the pads, sorry. You can see what they are, what names they are, that kind of stuff. And sometimes you might be thinking, what's Crash 0064? I can't see the rest of what it said. Am I even in the right one? And then you can see in the pad section here, the group section, you can see exactly what that is, and that's great. So then if I go to this mode here, obviously on this pad bank, there's only the clavs, which is now the kick that I've changed. And again, you can see what name it is. But if I go to the high key, check this out, I can then chromatically start mapping up and up and up and up across all the pad banks, across all my keys, across all my MIDI controller, and get a melodic sound. So now I actually get a melodic set of pads with a drum kit. So a whole drum kit can be doing pretty much most of your heavy lifting for a track. You get the idea. It's so hard on this little keyboard. I need to get more room in this place. Okay, so that's the idea. I mean, that's a great one, that. So then I can go back to instrument mode and I can then maybe tweak more. I can then even turn on the glide. So I can turn the glide on, glide between the notes, and then you get... You get the idea. So that's, yeah, really powerful. And of course, then you can change the sync to tempo and all that kind of stuff if it's maybe a loop. So this is some really powerful stuff. And because obviously then you have the access to all the tools within this, like distortion and amplitude and effects and all stuff, there's no reason why you can't get a nice fat sounding bunch of melodies, melody pad banks, and then have your drum kit, then right click up here, right click and save up here. You save that as a track preset, and now when you're stuck for inspiration, which I have been for the last few months because I haven't put many tunes out, I can just come here and go, right, where's my drum kit with the melodies? I've got my melodies and drums ready to go. I'm not looking for melodies. I'm not looking for drums. I can just go straight in and start jamming straight away and start getting ideas down. So yeah, really, really powerful stuff. Group mode, having a quick look at it again. Let's go back to the first pad bank. Quickly moving on with it. Exclusive mode. For instance, if you have a closed hat and a hi-hat like the MPC, you don't want them cutting each other off. You want them to cut each other off and not play together at the same time. You have exclusive groups, so you can put them in one group and then they will cut each other off in that group. A level mode, pan mode, delay and reverb and stuff. But this is really, really good. Output. Look at that. So now we have the ability to actually multi-track stem out, multi-output, should I say, our kit. So, for instance, I like to put my snares in a chain, and from there I can just say, okay, I want chain output 4, and I can put output 4 with then go into the edit channel strip or just the edit channel and put my whole chain that I've saved maybe as a preset, or just mix and match and just do the snares. Have the whole kit doing all the lifting and then do my snare doing its own signature thing. Or with my kicks, I might want to move my kick out, and then make a fatter kick and maybe another chain with my own signature plugins that I might use, and then keep the whole kit as it was. Or even better, I might want to stem out the whole thing. I've got 32 outputs. That's crazy. So that's literally 2 pad banks. So we can have a whole melody and the whole drum kit, all multi-track mixed like it's on this desk, multi-track mixed, and then even fatter. I mean, I like to keep it all kind of together, to be honest, to have a more condensed sound. But for instance, if you're doing a proper drums here, you're going to mix a multi-track drum kit. And so this is ideal. You're going to mix the toms, you're going to mix the hi-hats, you're going to pan them slightly, the snares and stuff like that. So yeah, this is proper stuff now. And again, all built into the lower zone. So really, really powerful stuff. Of course, simple things here. We have MIDI reset. If things get unruly and you might have overlapping hanging notes, MIDI reset's your friend. MIDI follow's a good one because sometimes you're like, what pad am I on? What am I pressing? Am I editing the wrong thing here? Which I just did a second ago, actually. And then you just click on it on here, and it updates and it shows me which pad I'm on. So that's really good. I would always probably try and advise to turn it off when you're running a loop or running a break or running a drum track, because it gets a bit wild seeing all the things zamming around and stuff, and yeah, it just makes it a bit more it just makes it easier on the eyes, literally easier on the eyes. Okay, right, moving across, bypass all effects, we know what that does, that's great, and that is pretty much a drum kit. And to have something like this is an amazing tool. Cubase 14, they shot me with this one. Excuse me. I wasn't getting emotional, I've just been getting over the man flu, so it's hard to breathe at the moment. Anyway, but yeah, it shot me with this one because this was like something that I just love as a beat maker. I have drum machines and stuff. It's good to be able to have drums and just and sculpt them and not move around too much. Literally just open the lower pane, right? I'm going, I can do that, and then I can close it and I'm back to work again, or I can go back to my mix console. So if you want to see any more on this, let me know. But I think I've pretty much covered a lot of things here. But if you want to know more about maybe mixing and matching certain kits, what works with what, or we can have a day where we just go through all the presets, and then we can see what presets I actually love and I rate in here, and then we can compare who likes which kits. Let me know in the comments, and it's cool, and I'll get another video done. Okay, cool. So moving along. This is my favorite window now. This is the window for me, because now we actually get the ability to do patterns, and that's killer for me. I'm a MIDI person. I'm from the horse and cart days, black and white days, literally the black and white days. And we get a sampler. I've still got all my samplers here, S950s, A3000, 4000, 5000s, and we literally just had it in by a MIDI. And then we draw the MIDI notes, and it was really creative and cool. But sometimes when you were in the mood, or you had to really get yourself going, or had a deadline and wanted to be inspired, it dragged you down a bit. Now to have something like this is really great. Literally, we've got generative features and easy beat making now, creative beat making built into the lower zone. So alongside the drum machine, alongside the editor, between them two talking together, you can really get going. So listen to the beat. You can see it here actually in action. So you see that beat and that style of beat, you couldn't really program well, you could, but in the old days, it would probably take you an hour to do all the little edits and then the roll stuff. In here, you just go, right, kick channel, snare channel, roll channel, done. And then I do my edits. That's what this gives you. And they talk together. So the drum machine is literally more or less synced with the editor. You'll create a drum track and then you can go to the editor and edit it. And that's editing the samples from the drum kit, and vice versa. So it's good to maybe again, okay, I like the pattern, but something needs tweaking. I can go back to the drum machine and do my edits and then say, okay, I'm happy with that. Let's carry on sequencing. So again, as before, left to right, we have an inspector. You would always have this on because you want to see what's going on. It's really important. And also, it's not stuck to steps of 16. Like, this is just me having a 16-bar step pattern, but you can have 32, you can have 8, you can stretch it across. And we also have resolutions as well. So MIDI users and stuff for your really tight sort of edits and stuff like that, and snapping, it's all in there. 32, 64s, triplets, all that kind of stuff. This is really cool. Pattern play mode, so you can actually have a forward playing pattern and a backward, or alternating, which means it then goes forward, then goes backwards, kind of like the Akai. But what's also cool is that could be per lane as well. So this is like a global, but you can have it per lane. Pattern mode does what it says. I would always recommend, when you find a nice cool pattern and it works, just duplicate it. Right click, duplicate it there, or just click on the thread, duplicate, or create a new one if you want to create a fresh one, and it opens up a fresh one. And then that's the one is the OG. Probably rename your patterns as well. I'm horrible for this, but just literally say, intro beat 1, drum and bass 1, drop, fill beat, whatever, and then it's just easier to then mix and match between the two. The powerful thing about this is you can drag it to the project. So now I have this pattern groove. I can then say, I can delete this project, some of it, because I've saved it. So now from here, I can say, okay, here's my pattern. I like that. I literally just drag it into the project window. And if I zoom in, G and H for the keyboard massives, and look at that, that's what it looks like. So I get to see how it looks there in drum machine form, drum machine pattern editor form, should I say, pattern editor form from the drum machine. And that's really good. But there's levels to this. There's many, 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 many levels to this. So if I do that and I'm happy with it, and it's playing, I get the option to then go to pattern 2, 3, 4, or I can even convert that to a conventional MIDI part. So you get real power and flexibility now within just this whole editor window, I can then say, okay, you know what, convert it to MIDI, because I like to work in MIDI. I get more control over MIDI, because you do generally get more control over MIDI. And then I can go to the bottom pane here, I can zoom out, and then I'm in my normal MIDI range. And obviously with MIDI, then you can do legato, I can duplicate notes across, all that kind of stuff. And then my MIDI's there, flexible, and then I can go from MIDI, and there's lots of MIDI tools and options now, and there's some more new added MIDI features in Cubase 14 as well, which are really cool. So you can't go back currently, for those that may ask that, to a normal bank of that. So you'll have to then literally create and go back to your editor and then change the parts again. So, but the good thing is, because the editor parts, you've not destructed them, you just literally just created a part, I can then go back to my original MIDI part and I can drag that back in here, like my drum part, and I can mix a MIDI part with a drum part. So this is great to maybe having, say for instance, that melodic bank. I might want to do a riff with it. I might want to fine tune the notes on the riff and stuff, and so I would be MIDI there, you know, lengthening some of the notes, maybe doing some velocities and just really sculpturing it. And this might be my beat section. So for melody section, I might say, okay, that's where I want to be, and then I can say, okay, let's color that, maybe make it yellow. That's yellow's melodies, red's drums, and then I can say maybe have that as pattern 1. I can duplicate that across, and then I can say let's make this pattern 3, and then I can actually have my mix and match of pattern banks with melody banked, and maybe even a whole song structure on the front, on one lane. So this is really good for keeping things organized as well. So you could have your intro, my drop drums, melody section, back to the drums, and you've got it all here, color coded, hopefully renamed, and then you can see it here what they are. So it's almost like track versions. If you remember track versions that came into Cubase many moons ago, oh my god, show my age. Was it Cubase 5 or 6? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Anyway, well, this is kind of like that. This is like the track versions for the drums. So it's, yeah, really love it, and that's powerful. But this is where it gets really cool and interesting now. Let's play it again. So we know we're up to. So each lane, this is the fun bit now. So each lane can be randomized. The whole arrangement can be randomized. You can do Euclidean timing. You can do normal randomization based on the instrument. So for instance, let's solo a pattern. By the way, there's a nice handy little speaker here for preview. So you can actually hear things, and that's great to be able to then find out what you're working on. You know it's muted, right? Okay. You know it's the kick. There's my hi-hat. I like to solo that, so I know it as well. You've got mute and solo. So there's the hats on this lane. And this is what's really cool here. If you look here, then this is like randomization based on the instrument. So this is really good to say, okay, it's a hi-hat. I can go to maybe a closed hi-hat, and then I can click the randomization button, and I can base this randomization. You can see the velocity, the pattern will be based on being a closed hi-hat. So this is great per instrument, per lane, across the whole pattern bank. So, I mean, let's have a listen. You get some really cool features out of it. And that's stepping up the velocity. I can change the density, so how much it's going to populate the lane. Randomize. That's pretty cool. It sort of shifts it along. Speaking of shifting things along, you can actually use this little arrow here to then literally nudge your steps across as well. If it looks a bit too stretched for you, I have a big monitor here. Then you can also, don't forget, you can undock it as well. You can see it much more clearly then as well. So that's a cool little tip for you. I like the fact you can see two at the same time as well. That's really handy. So I like that. It's got a nice groove. Let's do it in context. Really, really nice. So I can keep going. I'm going to keep that because it sounds quite all right, the groove. But yeah, you can always nudge things across if you're not feeling it and getting a different type of vibe. What's also good is, this is where duplicate pattern becomes your friend, because I quite like what I did there. I'm going to actually duplicate that pattern and go to pattern 5. So I'm in 5 now, and obviously then 5, I can then drag it across so I can audition it, or I could choose it here, pattern 5, and so on and so on. Yeah, cool. So I might like that, and I say, okay, maybe I want to change the amount of steps and how they're put in. I might want to put them in conventionally. Now, this is also good as well. The generate steps function, add a function every step, add a step every third, every fourth, and so on. So second, third, fourth. So obviously a normal hi-hat thing will be, let's just do the breakout. You can see here your normal steps will be something like that. If I break out so you can see it, and then we play it, which is working quite well. So I might like the rhythm of that and say, okay, I like that, but they need more grooves, a bit static, I need some more feel to them. This is what's also great. I can then go to here, the parameter lane, which is, I think, it's one of the best things that they've done in this version of Cubase, is the fact that now we can actually really not only get the beats down, but the grooves down, the feel down. So you can actually really make something that's quite static and quite boring and quite rigid and make it funkier, and I like that. So here, we even get randomized on the parameter lane. So there's randomized on the lanes, randomized on the parameter lanes, and it's complete randomization and hybrid randomization, which we'll look at in a minute as well. So this in conjunction with the drum machine, you're off and running. So now I can click this, and now the velocity values change. So obviously the hi-hat behind becomes more natural. And it doesn't stop there. So I might put some more in so we get more of an idea of hearing how things should sound, as opposed to like constantly sound, should I say. I'm going to randomize it again. Velocity. Great. But now we have repeats. So I can actually then say, okay, what step I might want to change on its own, in its own right. And this one here, I can say, oh, look, you get 3 little dots, which tells me it's doing like a repeat, which is like a note repeat. So check this out. I could also do that on the snare. Repeats. Let's listen to it. So you can see it works well there, probably the snare at the end, to be honest, do like a snare roll. But yeah, the power of that is amazing. And here I can actually say, okay, quite like all that. Offset is more like your sort of micro timing. So for instance, if the 2 snares were laid together and I might want to shift one across a little bit more to the other so that they're not clicking at the same time, so that it sounds like more like one and more organic, I can just offset that left or right in the lane. You got natural swing as well per lane, global swing, so you can actually really make it funky. You can see here now, this break, I've got the pattern swing up to nearly 20%, and that's why this groove sounds quite, you know, it's got a nice feel to breaks. So not only can you have your break beat, or your break, or your drums, or your pattern together, you can actually then have swing globally or by lane, and actually really get a nice feel to making your own signature sound. Sometimes when you hear a drummer, well, most times when you hear a drummer, in a say maybe like a funk or a funk track or something like that, it's natural, it's grooving. You'll get the MIDI pattern and MIDI groove for that. You can see everything's not really quantized on the beats and bars. There's a feel, a loose feel to it. So for real drums, and you want that kind of feel, you would do that on here. You'd actually maybe do some micro timing with the offset. You would do some global swing to shuffle things across, and then you get that bit more of sort of a natural kind of expansive sound. But not all music will dictate that, and that's a good thing about it. You don't have to use global swing or offset. You can actually then maybe just keep it on the 4s or whatever, the snares, and keep it all rigid for any kind of music. But the option is there to make it a bit more funky as well. Okay. So we have these shuffles here. Oh, what's going on? There we go. We have these shuffles here. So this is part of the actual break that I use this a lot in tracks and for many, many years, just to give it more of a feel, like a rolling feel. And so this might benefit from something like, for instance, the repeats. You get the idea. So now the next one is really cool. If you've seen some of my seat track videos, you know about probability. If you don't know about probability, probability just tells you, for instance, it goes up to 100% on here. Let me just show you, it's 100%. And that's just saying that there's a 100% chance that that's going to hit on that frequency at that time. If I don't take it up to 100%, then there's a probability that it may or maybe or not, it might or might not hit at that time. So it's great for instance, for maybe shuffles, maybe hi-hats and stuff, because that way you're getting an evolving rhythm all the time. So let's try out these shuffles. I'm going to add extra shuffles. So for me, that's too much. It kind of, the feel's gone of the break almost, like with that. they're almost a bit too robotic. So to get more of a feel out of this, I'm going to change the probability. So I'll take the probability now. When I do that, you get a little crosshatch, which tells me it's affected by the probability parameter. I'm going to change it a little bit more there to maybe 40%, or 51%, and then 36%. So you listen now, it won't be playing all the time. 2, 3, 3, 2. And that's more like it now, because then it's got a feel to it all the time. And if you have this over a whole track, then your track's kind of got life to it, if you know what I mean. Your drums are always, you're not having to go into loads of micro edits and stuff, because it's constantly changing anyway, and all within this one pattern bank. So that's great to be able to do that. And the great thing about it is I can then randomize that. So I can say randomize all these, and I can say maybe the velocity, I can randomize the velocity there. So I'm changing the velocity, occasional repeats maybe some offset, probability. You see what I mean now? So you're actually getting, an evolving fresh groove. And this is why I think that now I can definitely not go back now, because not go back as far as actually making the beats the way I did, but now going forward I'll be using this as my inspiration and workflow, because it just gets your ideas down. Get some ideas, funky grooves down that you would not normally come up with. And if you did come up with it, you've probably been in the studio or in the lab or in front of the laptop for hours trying to get it right. And this is like, 10 minutes, and that's me. 7 minutes of that is me talking. So yeah, you get the idea. Really, really good. Next one, velocity of variance. It just changes the velocity as well. It's like kind of like velocity, but the variety and change of them over time. If I check that here, you can hear that as well. So up and down. So now's a good time to save it as a track preset or save the project, which I'll do shortly, because now I've got an idea that I really like that groove. Or this would be a good one to do, duplicate your pattern. So now I know I can go back to that, because that was just random that I came up with then. And now I've got some nice ideas for going forward again for another thing. And don't forget as well, because it's dictated by the drum machine, I can then go back to the drum machine and change that to a whole new kit. And then there's a whole new feel going on there straight away. So yeah, really, really powerful. Like I said, the swing here as well. The randomization feature is massive. So here we have randomization. There's a full musical randomization, and there's a hybrid randomization, and then it's full randomization. Full randomization does what it says on the tin, straight white, random everything. Musical's great because it's not just everything and randomly thrown in. It's based on a musical style or a musical direction, should I say. So kicks will be where they might be in a kick, snares might be in a certain snare, and you kind of get really good rhythms out of it, to be honest. And yesterday, was doing some on the live stream and stuff like that on the launch day, and we came up with some really cool ideas, cool rhythmic kind of funky textures. So let's do it and see what it does. This is my pattern bank, so it might be different, but let's have a listen. By the way, you can actually choose to show it by pitch, which I always do, or pattern. I just like pitch to see what's on, the pitch of the keys and stuff, especially when you try to convert it to MIDI. It's just the thing that I do. Anyway, so let's do it. So you roll a dice. It's 100%, so it's the amount of steps. So it would be the density, the populated amount of steps which would be in this particular track. Let's just try it, and we're going to go for musical randomization. Roll the dice. There we go. And then I can go back to the drum machine, and that's because it's my pad bank. I can then maybe say, okay, let's pick out a kit here. Let's go to load track preset, and I'm going to pick out, I don't know, there's loads in here. Desiccated reality. Some of these I haven't even heard. And then I can go back again, and let's go back to the randomize. This is the fun element of making music. I quite like that. If you find something that you like, then just obviously duplicate it or create a new pattern. It doesn't really matter. I like to just duplicate. It keeps me in the sort of safe zone there. Duplicate pattern and then go again. I can change the density. And I can drag that pattern in there so we actually hear what we're doing. Or I can just change it here to 7. Keep going. See, that's quite nice if I add maybe the kicks in certain places. And then obviously I can keep going with this. So for instance, the kick's okay there. Maybe add some more snare action in here by randomizing the snare. I'm on the snare pattern mode. Let's maybe do, yeah, let's keep it on that. Change the density a bit, randomize. Let's go back to the drum machine and keep going. Load a kit. Now I've heard about 50% of these kits, but there's some crazy ones in here. I absolutely love them. They're totally diverse. So really wild electronic kits, synthesized kits, hybrid kits, breakbeat kits. Which one was I listening to the other day? Found You. That's a good one. Found You. Got like the kicks there. Back to the editor. Randomization. And then for the fun of it, full randomization. Because it is randomization, you're not gonna. Don't be surprised what it comes up with, because it's fully randomizing everything, and you know, happy accidents and all that kind of stuff. That's not bad, you know. If I change the kit, when you change the drum kit, you get a different feel for everything. The track your whole tracks and ideas will change. Momentum. Let's go. Let's go to one of my favourites that I've been checking out. The Arcade Racer I love. Breaking Beast is a good one. Right, full randomization. Full. Are you ready? Okay, I've gone there. I've gone. But back to musical mode. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, we'll end it there before I start making a track. Thanks for your time. Sorry it's been so long. Expect more videos now again. A lot more videos. Thanks for all the subscribers as well. Who've subscribed to the channel. It's quite a few, so yeah, I really appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to like, subscribe or comment. It's cool, whatever works for you. And yeah, I will see you soon. Plenty more videos to come. If you want to see any more Cubase 14 related videos, let me know in the comments. Yeah, and that's it. So I mean, that's a really cool idea that I just ended on, and it was totally random. Peace.